Hello again, I am Blunty and I'd like to introduce you to the new Tomb Raider, with a new Lara Croft, no longer an already established badass, or merely a fairly shallowly characterized Indiana Jones wannabe with gigantic tits. In this reimagining, she is a fresh, inexperienced young woman out to prove herself as an archaeologist, determined, willful, and for the first couple of hours of the game, fairly snivelly and whimpering. But so would you be under her circumstances, I don't care how tough you think your nuts are. But she still does have cracking norks. Now, a bit of housekeeping before we go on. If you are afraid of even minor spoilers, stop this video now. Don't watch a review video, then bitch and whine because you saw some of the game. That's retarded. Of course you're going to see some of the game. It's a video review. I will be avoiding story spoilers in the large part, and the bits of the game I'll be showing you shouldn't ruin or otherwise spoil your own playthrough in any way, and they're all from the first 3 or 4 hours of the game. Now then, as we started out, this is a new Miss Croft. This game is, I think I'm right in saying, the 9th Tomb Raider game to be made, but the first to tell an origin story. It is a reimagining, not a prequel. It's a full-on reboot of the series. And as such, the developers have taken the opportunity to make Lara a more well-rounded, in her personality, her body still has all the round bits from before, albeit minus the allergic reactionary pouty lips and the anti-gravity D-cups. The characterization and the story in general are very well handled, and Lara's progression and growth from her innocent beginnings to a hardened survivor is relatively smooth and well done. Although, this being a video game, she does go from graduate student to performing feats of athleticism that would make an Olympic athlete cry with jealousy very quickly indeed. Now, a lot has been made of this new emotionally deep Lara Croft, and for the most part it plays out really nicely. That first kill the developers were going on about so much really does hit with an appropriate emotional punch. Although once she gets self-defense murder number 1 out of the way, Lara seems to have absolutely zero emotional or moral issues with slaughtering hundreds more people. I guess murder is like getting laid. Once that first big bang is out of the way, it seems much easier to keep on banging.
Oh, God!
And again, as is usual for this type of noob to badass character progression in games, or movies for that matter, she gets a handle on the various projectile weapons stunningly quickly. Unbelievably quickly, actually. And as distractingly unrealistic as that progression is, this is a video game, and in a game like this you want to feel like a goddamn ninja badass pretty quick. It's not much fun being weak and crap at marksmanship in a video game, is it? Of course you gotta learn quick. Playing through the main storyline can feel extremely linear and on rails at times. The world is open and beautiful and begs to be explored, but far more often than not there's simply only one path, one set of actions required in one particular order for you to progress. And that can feel quite confining at times. It also may limit the replay value of the story mode because there are no alternate paths to try, there are no different choices to make. Although, on replay, there are a bunch of side quests and optional tombs you can run back to after you're done kicking ass in the main story mode. There are some flashbacks to fill in backstory on characters that are delivered via a handycam gimmick, and there are also some logbook pages from various characters which have been inexplicably scattered around the entire island to fill you in on more exposition.
Here's the soon-to-be world-famous archaeologist, Lara Croft, in her native habitat. She's on the hunt for the lost kingdom of Yamatai, home to the fabulous Himiko, mythical Sun Queen, and ancestor of yours truly.
There's a simple but nicely done system of skill trees and weapon upgrades. It's not as bewilderingly complex as a full-on RPG system might be, but it's enough to make you feel like you're progressing and getting incrementally more awesome at face shooting. The controls are nicely handled, feeling pretty natural and quickly instinctive, and you quickly learn to be quite agile and efficient as the game progresses. In fact, a few hours in and you'll be needing to rapidly and smoothly switch between all your newly learned skills and techniques, but, you know, only if you want to live. And on that note, there's some spectacular platforming in this game. I'm not actually going to show you some of the more epic stuff because 1, that comes later in the game, and 2, because that thrill of the first time you're doing it is pretty damn sweet. Again, pretty much like getting laid for the first time. The second of three major gameplay systems in the game, aside from the awesome platforming, is the firefights and hand-to-hand combat. And while the hand-to-hand stuff is a bit awkward and not nearly as smooth or as natural feeling as the rest, it works okay. But the projectile weapon fights are great fun. In general, it's accomplished via a very natural feeling cover system, and unlike some games that use this fire from cover mechanic, I never got unwillingly stuck behind one of the many conveniently waist-high objects in the firefight zone, nor did I have trouble getting behind it in the first place. When I wanted cover, I could get to it. When I wanted to leave it, I could. When I wanted to shoot from either side of it, I could. It's all very well implemented. And to keep you from simply sort of camping out and picking them all off one by one, many enemies will throw explosive at you and other incendiary devices your way to force you to move about. In fact, fire is a recurring theme throughout the game, but I'll let you folks discover that on your own. The weapon mechanics are similarly well done, not too dumbed down, not too awkward, and although you can only carry 4 weapons, each has variances and alternate fire modes to unlock, which keeps your options flowing and variety coming. And in the mid to later stages of the game, the firefights can get pretty damn intense. The feeling of jeopardy and desperation ramp up quite quickly, and it's spectacularly fun and deeply rewarding when you clear an area of all immediate threat. There's not heaps of variation in enemy types, but things never felt too stale in that regard, and aside from the human menace, you're very gradually introduced to the more supernatural aspects of your location and the overarching story. The mythological stuff is actually really elegantly woven into the game, unfolding slowly and subtly throughout. Oh, and of course, there's corpse looting. You know, because dead arseholes don't need their stuff anymore. Finally, the third component to any good Tomb Raider game is of course the puzzles, and you won't be disappointed. The puzzle rooms here strike just the right balance between being nut-bustingly frustrating and feeling too easy and obvious. Some are simple of course, others, especially those in the optional tombs, can be very clever indeed. Putting all the really tough puzzles in optional tombs is a really nice balance because you're unlikely to get stalled in the story mode by being stuck at a puzzle you can't puzzle out, and then getting frustrated and rage quitting and never coming back to the game to actually finish the story, but there are also plenty of head scratches that will deliver that wonderful feeling of reward and accomplishment when you do finally figure it out.
Just end it. Please.
Go to hell.
As I bounced over before, there are also a fistful of little mini-quests and side missions and all those collect all 10 of a certain item or set fire to 15 hanging human corpses kind of stuff that rewards you in various ways in the game, should you be 100% done. The story flows really nicely from mission to mission. It's very elegant, very natural, it never feels forced. You never see a loading screen either, except if you die, of course. The environments all load in the background. The cinematics and QuickTime events all trigger seamlessly. It really helps make the game feel sort of fluid and immersive. And those environments are stunning. And there's a really nice selection of them, lots of varied locations, each with their own unique aesthetic and mood, everything from jungles and caves and industrial shantytowns and camps and temples and shipwrecks and plane crashes, all rendered beautifully with wonderful texture and lighting. It all helps keep the game feeling fresh and visually stimulating. The music and general mood setting were expertly crafted, highly textured and powerful without being distracting. There was none of that silly, "Look at me, I'm a dramatic music sting, bwam!" kind of crap to try and give you a false jolt. The music just fits itself into everything else without feeling forced in. It's a wonderfully built soundtrack, both musically and environmentally.
Sam! Shit!
Now I'm playing, and what you're seeing is the Xbox 360 version here, which runs at a very smooth and consistent 720p at 60 frames per second, but if you've spent enough money on your rig, the PC version looks even prettier, I hear, although I have seen reports of a couple of completely game-stalling bugs that utterly stop you in your tracks in the story mode, none of which, by the way, I hit on the console version. The motion cap is also really well done. It's not jittery or floaty as it can sometimes be. The facial animation is okay. It's a bit wooden at times, but it's not too distractingly so. The voice acting, however, is generally awesome, with a couple of exceptions where whatever jackass they cast overacts atrociously, hams it up, and otherwise overemphasizes his lines, or pauses at unnatural moments, albeit and distractingly, the true sign of an actor trying far too hard. But by and large it's nicely done, particularly and importantly from our lead, Miss Croft. Replay value comes in multiplayer, with eventual DLC of course, and 100%ing with the item hunts and ancillary tombs and side quests and action completion challenges. I hit the end of story mode after about 8 hours of gameplay, and I was told I had 64% completion of everything possible to collect or do. Your mileage may vary.
Can't get this thing open.
Forget it. We need to break us. She's here. Hey, woman, don't shoot. Let's be friends.
So, final verdict. Get this game. It's simply one of the best games I've played in recent memory. It's a highly polished experience with very rewarding gameplay. It looks and sounds fantastic. It balances challenge and payoff extremely well. Both the battles and the drama get nicely intense, challenge piles on in a fairly predictable path familiar to these type of games, but that doesn't make it any less fun. The basic construction may be cliche, but the original Tomb Raider built many of those cliches, so I'm fine with the very familiar feeling here. And no spoilers, but there's a really clever bit at the end for those old school players who couldn't shake the feeling of something classic kind of missing from the new version. It's really clever and put a big old smile on my face. Overall, it's a fairly satisfactory story, and at the end, while the final boss fight wasn't as scrotum-stabbingly tough as I thought it might be, it still felt like an acceptable challenge for a final boss, and it left me with the required feeling of accomplishment of becoming Lara Croft, badass survivor. Once more, go out, get this game. It is an unquestioned recommendation from me. Thanks for watching, I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.